6 athletes, 6 pieces of equipment, 6 deaths that every federation had the power to prevent and chose not to. These aren't freak accidents. These are the stories they buried in investigation reports and safety databases, hoping no one would connect the dots. So, which one of these deaths finally forced the Olympics to change the rules? The last thing Meera Vasek said to her coach before she died was, "I feel ready. Tell me I'm ready." He told her she was. That was a lie he had been sitting on for 14 days. Meera was Czech-American, trained since she was 4, privately funded at a Colorado Springs elite academy at a cost her family later confirmed exceeded $300,000. She had been a junior world team alternate at 17, talented enough to be in the room, never quite enough to stand on top. She retired at 21, came back 8 months later when her coach, Dmitry Havel, called to tell her a documentary production company wanted her story. What he did not tell her was that he had a financial stake in her competing, a licensing percentage written into the production agreement. The skill she was attempting was a Yurchenko double pike. Difficulty value 6.0. She had landed it cleanly in training exactly once in 4 months. 8 days before the North American Cup qualifier, she told Havel her neck felt stiff. He told her it was tension. He had been holding a radiologist report for 6 days, showing an early stress fracture at her ST5 vertebra. He told her it was soft tissue inflammation and cleared her himself. The vault table she competed on had a degraded internal spring compression block, delivering 11.7% less rebound force than FIG minimum standards. Batch certification had missed it. Nobody had looked closely enough. She hit the springboard clean. The table gave her less lift than her body expected. She under-rotated. The crown of her skull struck the landing mat first. Judges 12 meters away heard the sound. The pre-existing fracture at C5 gave way in 3 places. A bone fragment drove into her spinal cord. Below her shoulders, every signal stopped. "I can't feel my hands," she said, twice. Then she stopped speaking. The arena's medical team, 2 physiotherapists and 1 paramedic instead of the trauma, physician, and anesthesiologist FIG rules required, reached her at 1 minute 12 seconds. The spinal board was in a storage room 43 seconds away. The ambulance was blocked by equipment staging in the corridor. By the time she reached the trauma center, she had gone into neurogenic shock and her team was breathing for her manually. She survived 2 cardiac arrests on the operating table. She did not survive the 3rd. Meera Vasek was pronounced dead at 5:17 a.m. on March 9th, 2023. The investigation classified it a Category 1 preventable fatality. Havel's licensing agreement was subpoenaed. The vault table failed every compression test in Lausanne. The medical staffing waiver that left the arena under-equipped had been approved without a single physician's review. Her last text to her mother, sent 38 minutes before she competed, read, "I'm so nervous, but I'm doing it. Watch me." Nobody in the gym that morning thought the uneven bars were the problem. The problem, everyone assumed, was Lena. She had been pushing a Tkachev salto release variation with a half twist and E-rated skill for 3 weeks. Her coach at the Kazan Regional Training Center, Viktor Stolyarov, had entered the upgraded skill into her routine submission without informing the Federation medical officer that Lena had been competing with a partial tear in her right ulnar collateral ligament for 6 weeks. She had told him her grip felt wrong. He told her to chalk up more. The high bar rail had developed micro-surface pitting along a 15-centimeter section from repeated chalk and sweat exposure. Facility maintenance records showed the bar had not been resurfaced in 31 months. Standard replacement interval is 18. And the pitting was invisible under normal lighting. It was visible under the UV inspection lamp that the facility owned but had not used in its last 4 scheduled safety checks. On her 3rd release attempt, her right hand caught the pitted section at the recast. The microsurface friction spiked for a fraction of a second, enough to arrest her grip rotation. Her hand locked instead of sliding. Her body's momentum continued. The torque transferred directly through her already torn ligament. The ligament ruptured completely. Her hand released. She fell 2.4 meters, struck the back of her head on the low bar on the way down, and hit the mat. She never regained consciousness. She died 9 days later from severe diffuse axonal brain injury. The bar was tested after the incident. The pitting was found within 20 minutes of UV lamp inspection. The lamp had been checked out and returned unused at each of the previous 4 safety audits. No reason was ever recorded. The investigation board called it negligence through routine omission. Nobody was breaking rules. They were simply never doing the one step that would have found the problem. Lena Drosva was 19. The Russian Cup was going to be her first senior national appearance. Tomás Fierro had been racing luge since he was 16, representing Colombia in a sport where his country had 3 active competitors and a national federation budget smaller than what most European programs spent on blade maintenance. That budget was the problem. His sled had developed microfractures in the right runner blade mounting bracket after 5 seasons of heavy use. A preseason inspection identified them. The Federation technician documented them, recommended replacement, and submitted a cost estimate of 8,000 euros. The sports director approved the inspection report and did not approve the repair budget. The sled was cleared with the notation, "Monitor for progression." Nobody monitored. At curve 9 on the Eagles track, a high G compression turn at 112 kilometers per hour. The bracket failed. The right blade dropped 2.3 millimeters out of alignment. At that speed, 2.3 millimeters is enough. Tomás corrected for 40 meters on instinct alone. Then the bracket failed completely. The blade came free. The sled went sideways at 109 kilometers per hour and struck the ice wall of curve 10. Impact force was measured at approximately 60 UHG. His helmet was certified to absorb forces up to 50 G. He was extracted within 4 minutes, one of the fastest response times on the international circuit. It did not change the outcome. He died in surgery 6 hours later from traumatic brain injury, bilateral femur fractures, and internal hemorrhaging. The investigation found the inspection report, the cost estimate, the sports director's signature, and no follow-up whatsoever. Tomás Fierro had qualified for the Olympic Games 3 months before his death. He never got there. What happened to Kushima was not about the platform moving. It was about what was bolted above it, and what happened when it was not bolted correctly. A temporary broadcast lighting rig had been installed above the 10-meter platform for a production crew covering the pre-Olympic Invitational. The rig was signed off by a venue facilities coordinator. It had not been reviewed by the Aquatics Federation's technical delegate. The technical delegate had not been told the rig existed. One bracket on the primary anchor had been installed with the wrong grade bolt, a specification mismatch that visual inspection could not catch without torque testing. On Yui's 3rd dive of the preliminary round, the bracket gave way. The rig dropped 90 centimeters before a secondary cable caught it. A section of lighting truss swung through the dive entry zone at the exact moment she entered the water. She was struck across the upper back and neck at entry. She surfaced conscious. She said she could not move her arms. The cervical fracture she sustained left her paralyzed from the shoulders down, where she survived the initial injury and underwent surgery and rehabilitation. She died 26 months later from sepsis linked to a respiratory complication, a documented consequence of high cervical spinal cord injury. The coroner traced the causal chain directly back to the incident. The wrong grade bolt cost approximately 40 cents more than the bolt that was used. Kofi Mensah was attempting a personal best, clean, and jerk, 196 kilograms, at the Ghana National Championship when the competition, barbell's left collar failed at full extension. The collars had been purchased in 2016. IUWF guidelines recommend replacement after 5 years or upon visible wear inspection failure. It was 2022. They had not been replaced. The Federation's equipment budget had been cut twice. Now, a pre-competition check had been conducted by visual inspection only. Collar torque testing requires a tool the venue did not have on site. At the peak of the jerk, bar locked out overhead, full extension, the left collar failed. The plates shifted 14 centimeters outward in under half a second. The imbalance sent the bar rotating. Kofi could not adjust at maximum load. The bar came down on the left side and drove his shoulder and neck into the platform. He sustained a fractured clavicle, a dislocated shoulder, and a lateral cervical fracture. During the first night of hospitalization, the cervical injury produced a vertebral artery dissection, a catastrophic stroke. He died 41 hours after the competition. His coach told investigators he had been requesting new collars from the federation for 8 months. He had the emails. Every single one had been read and not replied to. Priya Anand was 17 and competing at the South Asian Gymnastics Championships when she died because the beam she competed on was not the beam that had been inspected. The venue had 2 beams in storage. One was FIG certified. The other was an 11-year-old training beam with metal fatigue across 2 of its 4 primary load-bearing cross members. It had been flagged for disposal 8 months earlier. It had not been disposed of. It was stored in the same equipment bay as the certified beam. On competition morning, a venue staff member retrieved the wrong beam. The certification sticker was on a storage tag on the shelf, not on the apparatus itself. The staff member matched the shelf tag to the nearest beam. Nobody checked the serial number against the certification document. The technical delegate signed the equipment setup form at 7:40 a.m. Competition began at 9 a.m. Priya was performing her beam dismount, a full twisting double tuck she had competed cleanly more than 40 times, when the fatigued crossmember gave way under 3 hours of dynamic competition load. The beam dropped 8 millimeters on the front left corner at the moment her feet left it. 8 millimeters changed her launch angle by 3 degrees. 3 degrees on a double twisting dismount means the difference between landing on your feet and landing on your head. She landed on her head. She died 4 hours later from a traumatic brain injury her surgeons described as non-survivable from the moment of impact. The wrong beam was identified within 20 minutes when a junior official thought to check the serial number. The condemned beam had been sitting right next to the certified one the entire time. The staff member who set it up had never been told 2 beams existed, or that one of them was marked for disposal. The disposal order lived in a digital system the setup crew had no access to. 17 years old, 40 clean dismounts, 1 missing serial number check, 6 athletes, 6 pieces of equipment, 6 deaths that each had at least 1 moment, 1 inspection, 1 report, 1 budget approval, 1 serial number check, where a single person doing their job correctly would have changed everything. The apparatus does not know your name. It does not know how long you trained or how much you sacrificed. It only knows physics, and physics does not make exceptions. Every one of these athletes trusted the system. Every one of them deserved better than what the system gave them.